3, 2, 1. Happy New Year!
It's a new year.
This is the first Chill Spot podcast. First Chill Spot podcast? Second Chill Spot podcast.
First of the new year.
Of the new year.
Because we released one right before the new year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, welcome back, everyone. We're still here. We're still making podcasts.
Yeah.
Sam's playing Homescapes on her phone.
Yep. I'm just finishing. I gotta lose this level first.
So, Sam, could you tell me about how your journey with Homescapes begun?
I don't recall. Okay, so first there was Gardenscapes.
Of course.
In the beginning, there was Gardenscapes.
Before there was life, there was Gardenscapes.
There was Gardenscapes. And then I downloaded Homescapes because Gardenscapes was like, hey, we made a new game. It's the exact same concept, except you're renovating a house and not a garden. And I was
That's
like,
pretty cool.
Cool. So when I run out of lives, for those who are unaware, Homescapes and Gardenscapes is a match 3 style puzzle game,
like
very
Candy
similar
Crush.
to Candy Crush.
Yeah.
Exact same aspects as of Candy Crush.
Millions of these games.
Yeah,
They're dime a dozen.
but the twist with Homescapes and Gardenscapes is that when you beat a level, you earn gold stars, which you can then use towards renovating a garden or a house, depending on which game you're playing.
Which of the scapes you're playing?
Whichever scape you are playing. So, I love it because I love match 3 games, but I also love like picking and choosing. I enjoy honestly, my second kink aside from your Maury impression from Big Mouth is like designing a house, because I will probably never do that in my millennial lifetime.
Right.
So, yeah, I love being able to like pick and choose and seemingly have like all the abilities, all of the money, all of the, the resources to renovate a house.
Right. It's
I
a
won.
little fantasy you live.
Yeah.
Oh, you beat the stage?
Yeah, I beat it.
Oh, good for you.
First try. So yeah, it's just sort of like a little fantasy land for me, because I like puzzles, and I also like the idea of renovating a massive house and like having choices and stuff like that. Well, so it just sort of started with like looking for, just surfing the app store, looking for new games to play, new games to download to pass the time, something to make me look like I'm busy so that men on the bus don't talk to me.
There you go.
Which is a real defense tactic that I use.
I mean, yeah, you gotta look busy so creeps don't bother you.
Exactly.
It's a thing.
Exactly. I need something for my face to focus on so that my eyebrow crinkles and I make the frowny face so that men don't talk to me.
Ooh, she looks angry. I don't want to talk to her.
She looks angry or busy. I can't bother her.
Fuck that shit.
So, yeah, it just started out as that, and then I just got sucked into it, and then they introduced like a team aspect where like if you have an internet connection you can join a team and like talk to people and exchange lives with people.
So it's kind of like Clash of Clans at that point.
Yeah, and you like work toward the game puts out challenges like every month, every couple of weeks or so, and you and your team work together on those things, and it's like kind of like a community thing, and it just sort of blossomed from there. They're very cute games. It does pull the microtransaction bullshit on you, though.
It's a phone app.
Where,
so
like some levels are actually impossible to do without power-ups. And it doesn't advertise as much. It's like, hey, by the way, like you need power-ups to do this level. But some levels are just like so ridiculously planned out that it's like I can't see myself not doing this without power-ups. And you get a free power-up every day. But if you've already used it and you encounter a difficult level, then you're kind of shit out of luck.
Totally.
So it's kind of shitty like that.
Could you watch? Could you do the thing? A lot of phone apps do this. Could you watch an ad to get power-ups?
You can watch ads. I think you can get it to get coins.
Oh, coins. And then you can buy power-ups with the coins.
Yes.
Okay.
But you need like 9,000 coins to buy like 2 power-ups. So it's not really worth it.
So it's really funny, right?
The coins can also be used for other things within the game. So it's like, do you want to buy this microtransaction or do you want to buy this microtransaction? Like, which is it? Like, what do you want to do? Do you want to spend your stars re-renovating aspects of the game? Because you can go back to things that you've already done and spend like 10 coins and like get a chair in a different color.
Right.
Or like get a new bookcase for a room that you've already renovated or something like that. or you can save up like 9,000 coins and buy a single power up. So, coins are also used to buy extra moves in a level, because you have to complete each level. Gives you a certain number of moves. You have to complete it in those moves. You can spend like 900 coins to get extra moves if you run out, but you're very close to beating a level.
Okay.
Which is annoying because it's way too high. 900 coins is way too much, considering that you get like 30 to 50 coins every time you beat a level.
Right. So it's been interesting, this conversation we have about Homescapes and your addiction to it, because it's like, you know, obviously it's no secret that I love video games, and video games are part of who I am.
Yeah.
And that, in acknowledging the fact that I love video games, it's ignorant of me to ignore the fact that phone games are video games.
Mobile games, yeah.
Mobile games are video games. So what I think is really interesting in this conversation between you and I is because for the longest time, and I still definitely feel this way, but I think there's some that do this better than others. I think that mobile games on the whole merely exist to be money-making machines. Like they're like, and let me finish before I you know. Okay. So at the end of the day, there are phone games out there who just want naive kids to download it on the premise that it looks cool, and then through one tap buying, just like spend $1,000 on their parents' credit card, and then, you know, hopefully no one notices, right? Like I feel like there's a lot of games that do this, and
it's only $1.29. It's only $1.29.
And you know what? I fall victim to this too. There's been times when I've been playing Pokemon Go, like out to play Pokemon Go, and I run out of fucking Pokeballs, and I'm just like, oh well. Fuck, like every Pokestop gives you like 3 Pokeballs. That's nothing. Yeah. Okay, I'll spend the $1.50 it takes to get 100. You know, but then you do that 4 times a month, and before you know it, you've spent like $4, right?
$5 and change or $6,
and that'll add up. Yeah, and if you do it every month,
$6 a month is like most of a subscription to something that's more like it's like a significant chunk of.
I could subscribe to Crunchyroll for that.
Exactly.
This podcast is brought to you by Crunchyroll.
And you just cancel your Crunchyroll subscription because it was like zapping too much money, but you've been like buying Pokeballs for the price of a Crunchyroll subscription.
I might
know what I mean?
Pop back on Crunchyroll. I was thinking about it. I do miss it.
I don't understand why you didn't. Like,
well, what happened is the reason why, because it was an old credit card. I forgot to switch it off my old credit card.
Okay.
And then the subscription was just like, we can't charge this card anymore.
Yeah.
And then I just need to put my new one on it. But real quick about mobile games, which I think is interesting, is that Gardenscapes does this, I think, the best of both worlds, where you can solve puzzles with power-ups that they give you, and if you fuck up, well, then you're just going to have to wait.
Yep.
Or if you really, really want to do it, you can spend the money, get the power-ups, and beat the levels.
And keep playing.
It's kind of like when this game came out, it got a lot of shit for this. Is Dr. Mario World, I think it's what it's called.
Okay, yeah.
Another match 3 type game that we were both into for a little bit.
Yeah.
It got a lot of flack for being a microtransaction like hell, but in my opinion, and this is my original point, like what I've learned from you in mobile games and the way you play them is that like you're not supposed to sit down and play a mobile game for 4 fucking hours.
No.
I'm not supposed to play Dr. Mario World the same way I'd play Death Stranding or something, right? No. So when I'm at a fucking bus stop or at Tim Hortons and I'm waiting in a goddamn line, take my phone out, play a single match of Dr. Mario, go, oh, my order's ready, and put it away.
Exactly.
Like, that's how you're supposed to play mobile games. And the reason why people think mobile games are so greedy is because you can't sit down and play them for 16 hours.
Exactly.
Without spending boatloads of money.
Exactly.
Because you will reach a point where the game goes, okay, you're out of shit, and here's a timer.
Yeah.
Once this reaches 0, you'll get your shit back.
Yeah.
And some people see that as greedy. I just see that as a nature of the form.
It's all about your frame of mind, right? Like you could view it as like, oh, this company's greedy, they want you to spend money so that, you know, you'll support their game. Or you could frame it as, okay, so I have a finite amount of time with this game, and then I'm going to get back to reality. Yeah. I'm going to put my phone down and talk to someone. I'm going to get work done.
Exactly. You know? Instead of browsing Twitter, I'm going to fucking play this game that I have on my phone.
It's like an actual structured study break, for example. Instead of saying like, oh, I'll just watch one episode of a Netflix show and then like you're 4 hours into a marathon of something. No.
Before you know it.
You reach a point where you cannot play this game anymore. You have to wait 8 hours like minimum. I think 8 hours is the minimum amount of time I've had to wait in any sort of like match 3 game to like get a full life refill.
And none of these phone games.
No, that's not true. It's usually like an hour or something like that. But regardless, yeah.
None of these phone games have gripped me the same way that normal video games do. Normal, quote unquote, console video games.
They're like not supposed to.
But that's the point. Exactly. Yeah. Like whenever I run out of lives in fucking Dr. Mario, I'm not like, oh man, but I
want to see the next part.
Oh, but I was gonna find out what happened to Dr. Peach.
It's just
like,
an arcade game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In 8 hours, you'll be exactly where you were.
Yeah.
You know, it's a lesson in patience.
Yeah.
You know, I saw this great tweet today, and this is an interesting conversation in my opinion because.
Can I say one thing though before we move off from mobile games?
Okay, yeah.
Is that. You know, yeah, there are a lot of like arcade style mobile games, and you know, like it's a fair point. Most mobile games that you have out there, especially the free ones, aren't meant to be played for hours on end.
No, definitely not.
There are gaming companies out there who make full length video games for mobile phones.
You can get The Wolf Among Us on your phone,
but
it'll be like $25.
Exactly, and you know what? If you are into mobile games, then that's fine. That's what you spend your money on. You know what I mean? It's not a waste.
Yeah.
But like. There is some gorgeous, if you want to get into it, there are some gorgeous mobile games out there that are like
that have a ton of effort.
$15-$20. They're designed for mobile games. They're not just I'm sure The Wolf Among Us on your phone is great, but like, you know, video games made by indie design companies that are meant to be played on an iPhone, that are meant to be played on an Android.
It's the medium of which they chose to port their platform.
Yeah, exactly. And they're beautiful, and they're well thought out, and they're fun.
Yeah.
And like, I understand the thought of like giving the iTunes store $25 seems like a lot when it was sort of built on like small fees.
No different than Steam, in my opinion.
You know?
You know, there's lots of games on Steam you can get for really cheap, and there's you can play full price for a game and get a AAA title downloaded to your computer.
Yeah, I just thought that was worth saying out loud because it's not all. We're used to the mobile store being like our respective mobile stores, whatever you have, iPhone, Android, whatever.
It's same thing.
We're used to them just being places to go get free apps, but I think it's worth mentioning that there's a whole other side to it of like actual video games.
Right.
That people really work on.
Who people sleep on routinely.
Yeah. That are I just think it's worth mentioning.
I think, and I totally fucking agree.
Yeah. This tweet that you saw the other day.
So the tweet, earlier today when I was at my computer over there. And you ever heard of the Twitter 9-Volt? He's kind of like a Koopa, like wearing a sweater. This is like his little icon.
I don't think so, no.
He's a popular Twitter who just keeps getting tweeted on my timeline.
Yeah.
Like all the fucking time.
Yeah.
And like
one of those, like, he's got a lot of solid one-liners that get retweeted a lot.
I followed him just because I thought, well, whatever. And then, like, don't get me wrong, I'm sure he's a super nice guy, and his Twitter's funny most of the time. I don't agree with all the things he says. I think he'd be a little snarky, in my opinion.
Okay.
But that's Twitter.
Especially when you start getting more popular. The more popular you get, the snarkier you get.
Well, especially because like a lot of these, like, and I'm going to say what I wanted to say, but not about 9-Volt specifically, but I think a lot of these like popular Twitters, especially gaming Twitter, like the second they become a Twitter that becomes something that gets retweeted a lot for a hot take, they think all of their takes are hot.
Yes.
And that's simply not true.
Nope.
Like sometimes you say some dumb shit and it doesn't resonate and it sounds bad. Like, you look stupid.
Or sometimes it's not a hot take in the sense that it's something that everybody agrees with.
Yeah. Like you don't need, you're just fucking beating a horse.
Yeah.
Whether or not it's dead is up to you.
Yeah.
So anyway, he tweeted out, and this was subsequently quote tweeted, where it was like the one thing keeping video games from being an established art form are the people who play them. And I don't agree with that fully because I obviously play video games, and I'm not. Don't
insult me.
I like to hope that I'm not an insufferable asshole when I talk about video games. But that being said, I do think that the gaming community has a serious problem with people who have really unsavory opinions and personalities gatekeeping people from getting into the new medium, fucking stopping people from enjoying things. Yeah, you've experienced this.
Hello, my name is Sam Mercury. I've been too scared to play video games for almost 26 years.
Yeah, so but I did a long ass Twitter thread about this like ages ago. But in my opinion, video games need to be, if they really want people to play them, they need to be more accessible.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that from like I do mean that from like a handicap perspective. Like video games need to be, there need to be better controllers.
Stop putting strobe lights in your fucking games.
You stop playing strobe lights and that's all one thing.
Yeah.
But video games has the highest bar of entry for any art form. I don't need to like do a bunch of backflips to listen to music. I press play on my phone, and it plays music.
And you can have a different taste than somebody else, and it's expected. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the interactivity and the playability of a game is dictated by how good the player is to play it, right? Which is an interesting thing, and of course, that's what makes games unique. And like, I'm not trying to say that games aren't popular. Games are by far the most popular medium right now. They make more money in sales from any other art form combined. More than movies, music, and TV combined. Video games makes more money.
Is that a confirmed number that you've seen?
It's certainly, I see lots of people say this. Lots of, like, they said it at the Game Awards. Reggie said it, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I have yet to fact check this.
But I was going to say, all those people are trying to sell video games.
Well,
so let's just keep that in mind.
Of course. Reggie Fils-Aimé is, you know, he's the ex-president of Nintendo of America.
I know he's like video game dad, and he's like so sweet and cool, but he also is trying to sell video games.
Right. So, okay, we'll leave this at like a 90% sure.
Yeah.
I'm like 90% sure that's correct.
Okay.
I believe it. So that being said, like, obviously they don't need more people to play video games because people are playing video games.
Yes.
But I've met tons of people who really, really, really fucking want to play video games, but feel as though they can't due to the people who are inundated with video games. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like the gatekeepers.
The gatekeepers and
the people who
shitheads.
Feel like they need to gatekeep video games.
You know? It's like I saw this fucking tweet a couple days ago, and this is going to be relevant to you, where someone tweeted like, oh, if you play the NES online and use the rewind feature, like, you absolutely did not beat that game. And then 9volt, this Twitter account that I was just talking about, quote tweeted that and was like, man, shut the fuck up. Yeah. Like, what the hell is your problem?
Yeah.
And I don't get these people.
Yeah.
Why do they need to come out in droves and defend this thing that does not need to be defended?
I was going to say.
And like, really die on this hill.
Yeah.
Like, listen, man, I loved Infinity War and Endgame as like a pair of movies, but I met tons of people who didn't.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck. I really don't care. I like the movies.
Yeah.
Like it or not, doesn't matter.
It's If I can speak from the perspective of someone who uses that rewind feature in NES Classic and like benefited from it and like had fun using it. So I used the rewind feature to play the first Super Mario Brothers game on the NES Classic.
It was great watching
on the Switch.
Yeah.
So as a kid, I owned Super Mario Brothers Deluxe for the Game Boy Color. So I've essentially played this game before.
Yeah.
I haven't played it. I've laid my hands on it before. I always get to like the second or third water level.
And
get
it's
frustrated,
fucking game over, yeah.
Put it down for another like, the last time I put it down, I never picked it back up again because I don't use my Game Boy Color anymore. But I would like put it down for like months at a time, try and pick it back up again, get stuck at the same part, and then put it down again. So when I played it up at the cottage on our vacation that we just got back from, I got to the end of Super Mario Brothers.
You beat it.
I got to experience the whole game, most of the game, because like
I used the warp pipe.
I used the warp pipe, which is like a fun part of the game that people like to find the warp pipes. It's a part of playing the game, so I still count it.
Hey man, they put that shit in the game.
I got to the end for the first time in my entire life. You know?
And I bet you felt really good about it.
I got to see the end of this game that's been a part of my life since I was a little kid.
Yeah. You don't have the time.
You may think that using the rewind feature is not playing the game to its full extent. But as someone who has tried and just either like doesn't have the hand-eye coordination to play the game, or doesn't have the stick-to-itiveness of like pushing through it and just like beating all the levels, I still got to have fun playing this game, and
that's what games are about.
People who released this game want me to get to the end of it eventually.
Of course.
Who cares about how you got there?
Listen, man.
And you know what? It was like for my brain, having shit come at me. That's why I hate the Hammer Brothers so much, because I can't deal with shit just coming at me in like a literal deluge of hammers being thrown at me, and I just have to deal with it. I have to like get under the arch, or I have to jump over it, or I have to like sneak up behind them and jump on top of them. Like when that comes at me from literally out of the blue, I can't I don't know, Cam. My brain just doesn't do that.
It's hard.
I'm sorry that my brain doesn't enable me to play the game that you gatekeepers want me to play so properly.
Right.
But it doesn't. Well, but I still want to and deserve to play this game and have fun with it. So like, sorry, not sorry that I didn't play it the way that you wanted me to play it, but for the first time in my life, I got to the end of the game and I felt good about myself. I felt a little bad because I knew that there are people out there who would like poo-poo how I got there. But at its core, I enjoyed playing a video game wholesomely and truly for the first time in a very, very, very long time because of this feature.
Of course.
And you know what? If you don't like it, you don't have to use that feature.
No.
I'm still going to, though.
It's a feature.
It was nice to rewind, be like, okay, wait a second. What just all came flying at my face in that 2 seconds? Like, what the fuck just happened? And then I was able to like go back a couple of frames, look at it and be like, okay, it was this. Okay. And I still messed up, you know?
Well, yeah,
like,
you still had to overcome the obstacle.
I still had to overcome the obstacle.
Yeah.
But I could just, you know, like my brain didn't feel assaulted by just all of this shit flying at the flames and the fireball stick thingies that rotate around and like, you know, like Bowser all of a sudden throwing hammers at me in the very last couple of dungeon levels, you know, it worked for my brain. And it doesn't have to work for anybody else's brain, but it worked for my brain and it helped me.
Well, so the way I see it from a game design perspective, when they launched the NES Online, you know what they did? They had all of their designers play these games and be like, oh, which one would be good on the online? And guarantee, like, I put money on this. They played them, went to their exec and was like, so this sucks. It sucks to have 3 lives to play an entire game. And then when you die, you have to start from the beginning.
All the way back, yeah.
That's not difficult. That fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Like, there's a reason why games have dropped life systems. Because they're flawed, in my opinion. So, okay, I had a very extensive conversation about this with people at the cottage. So there's a handful of things I agree with when it comes to a life system that adds tension. That's true.
Yes, yeah.
Getting low on lives and trying to beat a level adds tension, which makes for a more interesting gameplay experience. I totally agree with that. The problem is that going back to the beginning of the game is simply too punishing. Because
it's too hard.
Put it this way. We'll use a Hammer Bros example. You roll up to a pair of Hammer Bros. You've never seen these guys before, but you have 1 life left. And you have 1 chance to get past this complicated enemy. You die, and you have to get back to the beginning of the game. So, from a game perspective, when you play a game, how are you ever going to learn how to circumvent this obstacle if you can't do it more than once? You have to allow, because like maybe you're not, you know, I don't mean you specifically, but like maybe you're not super great at this game and it took everything you had to get to this point.
Yeah.
Like you're going to be thinking about the Hammer Bros the whole time, but like you run up to them again, you have 1 life and you die again, you have to play 4 fucking levels to get back?
Yeah.
That's stupid.
Yeah.
That's not difficult.
Yeah.
That's frustrating.
It's punishment.
What's difficult is getting past the Hammer Brothers.
Yeah.
That obstacle is difficult.
Yeah.
And that is what you should focus on when you're playing a video game.
Yeah.
Like, what's not, like, it goes back to Pokemon as well. Like, there's been a whole conversation with Pokemon getting easier as time goes on. But I think that's fucking bullshit because it's not difficult to train Pokemon. It's not difficult to battle trainers and get more EXP. It's frustrating and time consuming.
Yeah.
And if you ever watch Sequelitis, a video that Aaron does, Egoraptor, which you definitely all should go watch it. It's really great, and he talks about exactly this. There's something like, it's called like artificial difficulty. Something is taking longer, so you think it's harder. Okay. It's not harder. It's just taking longer.
It's just tedious.
It's tedium. You're right.
That's really interesting that you say that, because that's something that is a problem in the Nancy Drew community a little bit.
Oh, interesting.
Because sometimes there are aspects of the game that you have to go back and repeat. Some games are built within a time frame, so it'll be like Nancy will get hired to like this happens in Wizards of Waverly Academy, but like Nancy is hired to go undercover to investigate strange goings on at an all-girls prep school in upstate New York.
Cool.
And she has to pretend to be a student there. While she's
she's
investigating, so she has to, you don't have to go to class per se. It's insinuated that she has a schedule that she has to follow, but you don't actually have to like do any of that.
You yourself don't have to.
You do,
as the
however,
player,
have to do things that the students at the prep boarding school have to do, which is like you have to have a job there. So she has to run the snack counter. So she has a shift, and every day at a specific time of day. Like there's a window so that it's flexible.
Because those games run on real time, right? Like they have like a real time clock going.
Some of them.
Oh, okay.
This is the Waverly Academy is one of them.
Okay.
There's a clock that you have to follow, and you have to like it's like, okay, so like you can come anytime between this time window, but like at some point in this time window you have to work a shift at the snack counter, and it's basically just like it's a diner dash type mini game where like orders come in, and it's like, okay, I want like a bagel with like lettuce, cheese, tomato, and a cookie, and the cookie has to go into the toaster oven. The toaster oven is timed, and you want to try and like time management everything so that you can get it out fast enough and like get a bunch of points. Some people and games mini games like that show up in like White Wolf of Icicle Creek, Last Train to Blue Moon Canyon, stuff like this, where you have to like make food for somebody and manage your time properly, and it's like a thing that you have to do to advance in the game.
You certainly don't have a choice.
Yeah, and people are like, this is tedious, I hate this. I personally fucking love that. I love that so much. I love stuff like that.
Well, let me pause for a second. I want to pose a question to you.
Okay.
Does those mini games further the plot whatsoever?
Some of them do. It does in Last Train to Blue Moon Canyon. You know what? Yeah, they all do.
Then it's not a waste of time, in my opinion.
Yeah, but people call them tedious.
See,
because even after it advances the plot, you still have to go back and do them.
Oh, so
actually, not in Last Train to Blue Moon Canyon, but yes, in White Wolf of Icicle Creek.
Oh, so this
and
is
Waverly Academy.
So this is something consistent you have to do even after the relevance comes and goes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a little tedious.
I love it.
I know
doing it.
It's fine that you love it. I'm not trying to shit on you because you do. Trust me. Hey man, I was into WoW for a week. Fucking that's tedium the video game.
Yeah.
No offense to WoW players out there. WoW is a great game, but it's like.
But again, it's like you find it tedious, but people who play WoW for like years are
they
like,
call it the grind.
I love this.
The fucking grind.
My roommate Conrad was telling me about this the other day. How like. WoW had this thing where they introduced flying in the game because people were finding it too tedious to walk around. But then like WoW purists were like, this isn't like you're not experiencing the game. So then they put it back in a certain context, and then people complained about it still. And then they were like, okay, you know what? Fuck this. There's WoW Classic and there's WoW New. Yeah. If you want to walk around all day, play WoW Classic. I don't give a fuck. But like, here's WoW New if you want to fly around, and here's WoW Classic if you don't. Just shut up, please.
It's really funny, right?
Please shut up.
So WoW Classic came out last year now, 2019. And people have been hankering for it forever because WoW Classic really is its own beast.
Yeah.
Like WoW has become so different of a game in the 10, 12 years it's been out.
Yeah.
So people really do want WoW Classic. And this really funny interview with the main director, whose name I don't know, of Final Fantasy 14. Final Fantasy 14, for those who don't know, is an MMO, just like WoW. It's like, all Final Fantasy games have different...
Can you just say what MMO stands for in case people don't know?
It stands for Massively Multiplayer Online.
Okay.
So when you hear an MMORPG, it stands for Massively Multiplayer Online Role-Playing Game.
Okay.
A game where you create a character, and you work on that character, and your friends can have characters. You can all do stuff together.
RuneScape is like that for
RuneScape is an
like,
MMO as well.
Who wants to like go really far back.
Yeah, totally. It's another MMO. So the main director of Final Fantasy 14 was asked if he would ever do legacy servers for Final Fantasy 14. Legacy servers or classic servers is what I'm referring to.
Yeah.
And he said one word. You know what he said? Nightmare.
Oh, nightmare.
Because he's fluent in Japanese.
Okay.
Because he's a Japanese man.
Right.
And he literally, like, someone was asking him, and he's listening, and he just pinches the bridge of his nose just like this, and goes, nightmare. It's my favorite. Because and it goes back to this all the time. And don't quote me on this, because I'm merely a man with a podcast. But as far as I understand, Japanese people and people who live in Japan, the notion of nostalgia doesn't exist for the most part. Like North Americans are like nostalgia is part of the fabric of our society.
Like, do you really think we were gonna birth Marie Kondo and like just have a bunch of clutter hanging around?
Exactly.
Like,
so when people go to Nintendo, they're like, people really want to play your old games. They're like, why? Play the new ones. They're way better. like you know what I mean? Yeah. And like I agree with that notion.
We rebooted Link's Awakening. Why do you want old Link's Awakening?
This one. Like the fuck? It looks way better. It's the exact same.
Yeah.
And I totally agree with that to a certain point. I agree where I think us as a society are far too nostalgic. The fact that there hasn't been a new goddamn movie series in like 15, 20 years is
we're just
troubling.
Feeding off the unicorn blood of reboots.
Well, they go to the pile like, yeah, we can make another Independence Day. Like, sure we can. Why not? I'm sure that'll work out.
Aladdin: Return of Jafar coming 2026.
Yeah, starring Will Smith.
Yeah.
No, they couldn't get him, so they got Eddie Murphy to do it.
Listen, Eddie Murphy's having a moment right now.
Yeah, he's got a bit of a comeback coming.
Yeah,
but
comeback in quotation marks. I don't think he ever really went away.
No, and we can talk more about that in a minute. But to wrap up my thought, the other half that I don't agree with is that video games have been around for like going on 40 years soon. You know, it's been a long time since video games have first been incepted, and a lot of old games are running on hardware which is far past obsolete. So the reason why I don't agree with Nintendo's idea of like we don't want to make our old games playable anymore is because when you do that, eventually the hardware and the system and the code for these old games are just going to be unplayable, completely unplayable. So when you don't update your code, when you don't port your games to new consoles, you're erasing history. After a certain amount of time, you could always go back and play the old games, but how long is that going to be one? This NES I have over here is going to be 40 fucking years old soon. You know, like, nothing I own that's 40 years old would still work. My PlayStation 40 years from now is not going to work. Like, the battery will die.
And it's like, you know, like, there are always going to be people, and to a certain extent, I'm grateful for these people who catalog and archive and maintain the old stuff just so that we can keep track of history, because history is important.
Absolutely.
But it's like, do you really, how long do we want to like maintain, like, what are the TVs called so that you can play CRTs? Do you want to maintain CRTs forever? Do you want
No.
Do you really want to like work to maintain your CRT so that somebody somewhere can still play like the OG Mario Brothers?
No.
Like,
so let me play it on my fucking Switch.
Yeah.
Like, yes, they've done that. I can acknowledge the fact that they've done what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
But the resistance to get to this point has been unfounded, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's just been stupid.
Yeah.
Nintendo's got this AAA library of games. I would suck someone's dick to play Super Mario Sunshine on my Switch. Like, excuse me. Can you reach that bottle of water? Is that possible for you to do that?
I would have to stand up. Pardon me, folks.
Sorry, guys. I got a bit of a thing on my throat. Thank you.
There you go.
I've been partying all weekend, and it's just been...
Ooh. Partying in the USA. But yeah, no, I sympathize with that. I understand the desire, because I mean, like, I don't know, when my stuff comes back, you know, like something that was important to me, I want it. I get the grabby hands and I want it. So I understand. I understand nostalgia, and I understand the desire to want to, you know, keep things that were important to you a long time ago alive, in a sense. But we just have to examine practicality. We just have to be sure that we're not doing a Jurassic Park thing and spending so much time trying to find out if we could, not thinking about whether or not we should.
The old Mario Brothers is gonna take over the world with an infecting consoles.
Yeah, exactly. Not in that capacity, obviously, but just, you know, like, think about it. Are we spending too much time trying to go back that we're neglecting the beauty of moving forward?
Yes,
you know,
100%.
Like, something to think about.
That's why it's a complicated issue.
Yeah.
Because, listen, if Nintendo was like, we're not going to port our old games to this new thing because it's a waste of time, I'd be upset about that. But at the same time, I also still have these consoles of which I can play these games on.
Yeah.
So it's not the end of the world. And, like, I'm not really the kind... I let shit roll off my back all the time.
Yeah.
I very rarely stay upset about something for really long. Unless you've really burned me.
Yeah.
In which case, I hold on to it forever. But, like, you know...
Yeah. Can I get super emotional for a second?
Depends.
It's on par.
Okay.
It's like a weird little story time thing.
Sure.
I, like any other 90s kid, loved the show Franklin when I was growing up.
Cool.
Did you ever watch Franklin the Turtle?
Yeah, Franklin the Turtle.
So there's this episode of Franklin the Turtle. It's pretty much the only one I remember from like beginning to end, where Franklin and his friend, I think it was Otter, build a fort. And it's a really cool fort. They put a lot of time and effort into it, and they use all of Franklin's toys to help prop up this fort and build a structure, and they have a great afternoon in it, and like the fort comes to resemble this like great afternoon that he spent with his friend. And I think what happened, the fort gets destroyed in some capacity. I think maybe like Franklin's little sister kills it, or like
fucking bitch,
or like something happens to the fort falls apart, and his dad goes, well, why don't you just build a new fort? He's like, no, you don't understand. Like, that fort will never happen again.
It was
like,
the old fort, yeah.
It's, like, you don't understand how important... Like, I can't make a fort as good as that one. Like, I can't. And his dad says, and I can't quote this verbatim, but it's like, yes, the old fort is gone and that's sad, but you can still, like, how do you expect to have good new memories if you're too busy holding on to the old ones? The old fort is gone. You can't do anything about it.
Yeah, nothing lasts forever.
But how, like, you can, if you build a new fort, and you can do that, you can build a new fort, you can have Otter back again, and you can still play, and you can have new fun memories in this new fort.
It won't be the old fort, but it will be the new fort.
Yeah. And, you know, I'm a clinger on her in a lot of senses. And
I used to be really bad about that.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, I hold on to things and attach really stupid meaning to, like, tiny things for absolutely no good reason at all. And every single time I'm faced with a time where I have to get rid of something or a bunch of stuff all at once, or come to terms with the fact that something old will never be new to me again, I try and think about that episode, because
it's a good life lesson.
You will have plenty of new good things that will give you similar feelings to that old thing that you love so much. And I think that that's something that video game fans can stand to learn from. Yes, nothing will be quite as good, especially quite as revolutionary as bringing home the first Super Nintendo and playing Mario Brothers for the first time, and you have this arcade experience at home, and it's crazy, and you spend all afternoon and you have this experience with your friends. However, there are new games out all the time.
Totally.
And there will be new games that you can still play with your friends. You may be 40 now, but there will be new games that you can still play with your 40-year-old friends.
Totally.
And you can spend an afternoon doing that if you want to. And it'll be beautiful and it'll be fun. It'll just be a little bit different. But the same wholesome feeling of spending an afternoon playing games with your friends will still be there.
Right.
So for heaven's sake, give these poor game developers who waste... No, not waste. It's never a waste.
It's not a waste.
Don't waste their life away, but they
work their asses off.
And crunch and grind their lives away to give you this. Don't poo-poo it because it's not the same as the very first thing that they made when you were a kid. You know, like, I promise you, like, there are good people in this industry who are working on giving you that good feeling time after time after time, year after year after year. And it's gonna be okay. Like,
yeah, really.
Just be nice to them and be open to the possibility of, like, having that same feeling again.
Totally.
It's part of the beauty. And I mean, like, if you look at it that way, then you'll have like 15 games that give you that good feeling, and not just one.
It's a lesson in just being open-minded.
Just a whole library of good experiences and good times, and it's okay. And this, I feel like a hypocrite giving you this advice because I'm bad at following this advice, but just be better than me then in that capacity.
But you're working on it. The thing is,
I'm working on it. But
with advice, it's hard to take your own advice.
Totally,
most of the time.
totally. But you know, still take my advice.
I can actually echo that sentiment because I in high school, I think I was very...
Cameron, stop slamming the refrigerator.
Oh, what can I say? I'm just so thirsty. The thing with me in high school is that I think I was a little, or thought I was, jaded. Whereas, like, you come to the realization that, like, all of the things you read about video games on the internet is negative. People being like, oh, this is shit because of X, Y, and Z, and, like, it's not this, and it's all this other shit. And then going to university and learning how to critique something, like, actually, like, getting the tools to critique something, makes me go back and read some of this shit and be like, this isn't a criticism. And, like, we talk about this till we're blue in the face in the podcast, so I'm not going to go into it. But long story short, I've been trying to be more open-minded about games ever since then. And that was like 5 or 6 years ago now. So to put it in perspective, in a 2019 sense, I picked up the new Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, which was a reboot of Call of Duty 4, which set the fucking world on fire, if you remember.
I don't. I believe you.
Call of Duty 4 was like one of the most popular video games of all time. Like, it was like it brought this like, you know,
it wasn't Black Ops, was it?
No.
I remember when Black Ops came out.
Black Ops was another big one.
Whew.
So put it this way, Sam. When I say Call of Duty, you understand the brand that I'm talking about, right?
Absolutely, yes.
That brand would not exist without Modern Warfare 4.
Okay.
Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare.
Okay.
It would not exist.
Okay.
Because before that, Call of Duty was just another shooter game.
Okay.
After that, it skyrocketed to Call of Duty.
Okay.
So, I don't need to fucking lay this out for anyone. Call of Duty has not changed since then. But the new one promised change. Like not so much like, oh, we're doing a little few things different. Like, no, like from the ground up, we're making this a different experience.
Okay.
That's what Infinity War said when they were making this game. So I was like, you know what, Infinity War? You know what, man? You know fucking what? I'm going to buy your game.
Okay.
I'm going to trade game. I'm going to buy your fucking game. I bought it. And I brought it home. All I wanted to play was the single player. That's only what I'm ever interested in when I buy Call of Duty games.
Yeah, you're not interested in playing online.
Because I know what the fucking multiplayer is going to be like. I don't want to walk out of a building and get sniped and then screamed at by some 6-year-old who's like far too young to be playing this.
Yeah.
So I played the fucking campaign, and I had this amazing moment, or halfway through the campaign, where I was in my chair, leaning forward on my elbows, watching a cutscene, and I had this epiphany where I was like, I am really into this.
You're engrossed.
Like, I really want to know how it happens.
Cool.
And I beat the game, and the ending was great. And I have to say, I'm glad I bought it. I don't own it anymore because
you trade.
I don't hold on to games at all.
It's smart.
It's the only way I can support this habit.
Yeah. I'm glad you do that. Actually, I think about the price of the stuff that you own, and I'm like, I'm really glad Cam uses the trade system.
I mean, because fuck, man, I couldn't spend $90 a pop on a video game.
Yeah.
I was gonna bite the bullet and pay $90 to get Luigi's Mansion back a couple days ago before we got on the trip, and I was like,
no.
Because I really had to be honest with myself, and this sort of before we continue, jump into another damn topic, being open-minded and being open to new experiences in the moment, as opposed to being bogged down by what my experience was when I was 13.
Yeah.
Is just a good frame of work to go from. Just a good lens to have. Because I don't think if Modern Warfare came out 6 years ago and I played it, I would have liked it. I would have been like, oh, it's just but instead I can acknowledge it for what it is, which is a massive improvement from Call of Duty. It is still Call of Duty. You still press left trigger to aim and right trigger to shoot and the bumper to throw grenades.
Yep.
Like the game hasn't fucking changed.
Yep.
But the presentation changed. They put a lot of effort into the story. Like it's like a pretty good war story. And because of my change in perspective, I found myself enjoying it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I could have been a bump on a log and just been like, oh, it's another Call of Duty. But I did.
Or you gave it a fair shot, like you did.
And I gave it a fair shot.
And then you found a game that you liked.
Yeah, exactly. Right?
What a concept.
I get to talk about this thing that I liked because I wasn't a dick about it.
Yeah. What a concept.
But I had this similar, not to say similar. I had another epiphany when I was going to buy Luigi's Mansion 3 because I really liked Luigi's Mansion 3 quite a bit, and I definitely want to play it again. And I was going to bring it up to the cottage because I thought it'd be a fun game to like play communally.
Yeah.
Like just like have it going, and then like people can sit and come and go. But I didn't do it because I thought to myself, am I going to spend $90 and then not play this game again?
Yeah.
Because that might happen.
Because that could happen.
It could happen, and I don't want it to happen.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to wait till it comes in used so I can get it for like 30% off.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
So you know what I mean? It's shit like that. It's being honest with yourself about your media. I'm not precious about media at all. Like,
I'm trying not to be.
Yeah.
In the future. It's also causing me to like lose out on things because I hold things in media too preciously. I get attached to characters way too hard to the point where I think that they're like real. And also I also have a hard time with certain things because like maybe characters in a piece of media aren't real, but the experience or the time period or the group that they're a part of was real at one point and reflects the experiences of real life people. So I have a hard time with that. That's why I still haven't watched When They See Us because
you don't want to put
Part 5
yourself
are
through
real
that.
people.
Yeah.
And it's documenting real experiences.
But
so
it's
like
Ava,
as shitty as it gets for those 5 boys, I can't be like, well, at least it's not real. No.
Right.
No. Every single thing was real.
But it's top tier Ava DuVernay though.
It's Ava DuVernay.
And I've heard it's like some of her best work.
And I talk so much shit. I had my whole rant about Detroit and how like Catherine Bigelow was not the person to talk about this historic event from. Ava DuVernay is the perfect person to tell the story of the Exonerated Five.
You ever seen Selma?
No.
You definitely
because I don't want to watch black people suffer.
Well,
even though it's a good director who could probably tell the story from a much more respectful angle that actually would cause me less pain in the long run.
I didn't even need to say it. You just said it.
Yeah.
It's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, Sam. There is violence against black folks in the movie. because the story
hello
features violence against black people.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's just like, you having some mic troubles, by the way?
Yeah, I'm just gonna hold it like this.
Okay.
We have like
another 15 minutes, pretty much.
I'll survive.
We'll be fine.
Yeah.
So, long story short, but I do think that, like, the difference between a movie like Detroit, which you see some poor dude get shot, like, 9 times and then get executed
walls,
by
white cops.
some white dumbass cop.
Yeah.
And Selma, which...
And the sequence is, like, 15 minutes long.
Yeah.
It's like, and there's, like, it slows down. Roy Wood Jr., and I brought this up before, has a really good bit about, like, death and pain in black movies. Roy Wood Jr. is a black comedian. He's a black man.
I figured.
But yeah, he has his part about how, like, the slow motion, like, drop over like former, like, slave spiritual songs. It's like, wade in the water, and then the person, like, hits the ground, and the ground is, like, dusty and muddy, and then, like, the dust clouds, like, pop up, and, like, it's like poof, poof, wade in the water, and it's like that scene in Detroit is like that for me,
right?
And I fucking hate it.
Yeah,
I fucking hate it.
Because
Ava wouldn't do that to me.
It's sensationalist, in my opinion.
Ava wouldn't treat me like that.
No, see, here's the thing, because, like, put it this way, I saw less violence in the starting scene of Selma, which is like, no, this isn't a spoiler. It starts off with that church bombing.
Birmingham, Birmingham, 1963.
Which obviously puts the story into motion, and it had to happen.
Yeah.
That
event was like a it was a tip-off point for that movement.
Of course.
Yeah.
So that scene, I think, was handled with more care and respect than the entire movie of Detroit. You see one thing that is I would describe as, like, shocking imagery.
Yeah.
And it's like a little girl's hand on, like, dust and fire and brimstone and shit.
Right.
To drive home the fact that, like, this was a heinous act.
Yeah, like, babies died.
But you know what? It was like a 2-minute scene, and I fucking got it.
Yeah.
I didn't need to be reminded that this was horrible.
Yeah.
After that.
Yeah.
So that's what I think that... I really think you should watch Selma. I actually think I own it.
You do, yeah. And it, I think I can see it from where I'm sitting, like, right now. It haunts me every time we record, because it literally stares me in the face.
I bought Selma at a Canadian Tire.
Yeah.
Isn't that fucking weird?
On, like, Blu-ray.
Yeah, I was getting my wipers changed, and I, like, oh, they had a movie thing. And I, like, it was one of those, like, whirly-doos, like the guys that spin around.
Yeah.
So, like, I whirled it and stopped it, and it was like 12 Years a Slave, Selma, Goodfellas, like, Snatch. Yeah. I was like... Holy fuck!
Pluck.
Well, I was like, oh my god, how much do they cost? And they had a 2 for 10 deal going on. So I was like,
yeah, dude. Yeah,
just like, put this into my cart.
Yeah.
I walked up to pay for the wipers, and I was like, can I pay for these here too? And he was like, yeah, and I just like set them down.
We were talking about this on vacation, but Shoppers was so good for that.
Totally.
Shoppers had, like, that, like, bulk, like, movie deal.
Right.
And they also had, like, older movies. They had new releases, but they also had older movies. I found Shaft and the sequel to Shaft's Big Score, on DVD at Shoppers Drug Mart.
Fucking golden find.
Cameron, I shit you not at an HMV, not in a Sunrise Records. Did I RIP
Both those businesses
HMV?
are now done.
Sort of. There's still a Sunrise in my town.
Oh, no way, really?
But yeah,
Okay.
in both malls, Conestoga and Fairview Park.
Shut up.
I have still not seen Shaft, and especially Shaft's Big Score, on DVD anywhere else.
Okay, so...
Anywhere else.
Answer me this, Sam.
Yeah.
And then we'll go back to Chopper, because I have a tidbit on that as well.
Okay.
What is Shaft? Like, and then let me elaborate. I know that Shaft is a movie. I know that Shaft is, like, a character who, like, beats people up. Is he a cop?
No.
Is he a detective?
No.
Is he a superhero? He's a detective.
He's a detective. He's an independent detective that the police, and he's a damn good detective.
So he's a PI.
That
he's a private
the police
investigator.
hire when they can't solve crimes, or when they're trying to solve a crime in like a black part of town. So Shaft is a blaxploitation film. Let me just say that
of course.
for the people at home who don't know. Shaft is a blaxploitation film. Blaxploitation films were a popular genre in the 1970s. Because they depicted black people, specifically black men, I must say, in good light. So, you know, like, black people won at the end of these movies. Black people were the good guys. Black people triumphed over evil.
Kind of funny that it's called
they were their own
blaxploitation, though. That doesn't sound like it has good connotation.
Actually, if you go to the profile of anybody who was in the film Dolomite Is My Name, because Dolomite Is My Name is about a person making a blaxploitation film.
Oh, neat. Okay.
If you go to no, not yet.
Neither have I.
If you go to any of their Instagram pages, they did like a snippet, like a press thing, that goes into it scratches the surface of like blaxploitation film and the significance of blaxploitation films in black cinematic history, basically,
right.
And like the relevance of it. And I suggest you start there if you're interested at all in the history of blaxploitation films, and then go further, because obviously, like, Keegan-Michael Key only scratches the surface of what blaxploitation films were in the 1970s. You're not going to get all of your history from him from the jump.
Of course not.
So yeah, Shaft was one of the most popular and like well-performing blaxploitation films of the 1970s. If you listen to the theme song that performed by Isaac Hayes, it pretty much explains who he is in the entire song. You get the idea. He's a complicated man. No one understands him but his brother, John Shaft.
Are we going to talk about that?
But yeah.
Finish your thought.
So yeah, this is great. I love explaining black stuff to my white boyfriend. I would love to make a whole other podcast of just explaining black stuff to my white boyfriend.
I mean, that's essentially what this podcast is.
Yeah, it's great. It's really fun.
I explained white stuff to you.
I love it when I know stuff that you don't know and have no idea about because you're white. It just makes me feel so powerful.
Well, see, you know what it is? It's like not even like, okay, the thing with Shaft that's always confused me is the nebulous nature of his character. Because I've never seen Shaft. I want to watch it. Because, I mean, I've heard it's like obviously pretty good.
No, it's not.
So anyway,
a lot of people will tell you Shaft's not good.
Well, because I've heard Shaft hasn't aged super well.
It hasn't aged well. It's also not good.
Oh, it's honestly just not that good of a movie.
It's really fucking boring.
Oh, wow.
But like, Shaft is a badass, and he was a hero to a lot of black boys. If you talk to like my dad, like, Shaft was so important to my dad,
right.
Simply because he won.
It was like your dad's Black Panther.
Yes. Yeah, totally.
With a little bit of irony.
Well, that's kind of why Black Panther, it's a layer as to why Black Panther is so important to black people when it came out, because Black Panther is like what blaxploitation films could be if we had the vision then that we do now. Because the idea of blaxploitation films was about putting black people in starring roles that they won in. They weren't stereotypes. They were heroes. They were strong. They were important. They were respected. You know, they didn't get shot at the end of everything. They weren't slaves. They weren't maids. They weren't club owners. They weren't, you know, they weren't any of these things. Yeah. However, there are still aspects of blaxploitation films that aren't good. Black Panther is the culmination of everything you want from a blaxploitation movie that we had to settle for in the 70s. Whereas Black Panther, you know, like, black people win at the end of dark-skinned black people win at the end of it. That's a huge factor of it too.
Because they like the whitewash.
The women in the movie aren't dressed scantily clad. There were female black heroes in blaxploitation films, but they were built for the male gaze.
People like big afro, like a leather jacket that like
Pam Grier
leans down here.
Yeah, exactly. Actresses like Pam Grier were. If you also talk to my father, he will tell you that Pam Grier is his biggest celebrity crush.
Okay.
Black Panther was not that. Nakia, Okoye, Shuri, they're not built for the male gaze.
Not
they're
at all.
Dressed appropriately for whatever environment they're in.
Yeah. If anything, I think Okoye specifically is designed almost as a criticism for that.
Hello, she deadass tells her lover, like, I will kill you for my country. I will. This romance, it's fun.
It doesn't matter. Because she's a soldier through and through.
I will drop it in a heartbeat because of who I am.
Of course.
500%. Nakia.
You know. Yeah.
You got T'Challa begging her to come be by his side for the whole movie, and she's like, I like being a spy. Yeah. I will not give this up. I love you, and like, you are not the reason that we are not together. It's not anything to do with you, but I can't do what I love in my heart of hearts and in my soul of souls.
Right.
And that is so important. Like, that, when you think about how important blaxploitation films were to black people, and now we have something like Black Panther to look at now, where like everybody kind of wins, you know, except for Killmonger, rest in peace. But like,
yeah, I mean, that's an interesting. So would you say then that a genre like blaxploitation, in terms of like the modern age coming around and people of color getting the spotlight in movies where they've never would have had to be in the first place, So did you think that blaxploitation is something that is either going to die or has died?
It's already died. Yeah, blaxploitation doesn't exist anymore.
Because why would it?
And like any attempt to sort of bring back blaxploitation films like doesn't super work unless it's parody. Like there's a movie called Black Dynamite which
I've heard is really funny.
Which is like really, but it's a parody, right? At the end of the day, it's making fun of the genre. It's not trying to be the genre.
Okay. Because like black folks can just be in movies now. Like,
exactly. Like like
same
why do we need a Shaft? Why do we need a Shaft reboot? Remember that Taraji P Henson film? Oh my God.
Proud Mary.
Proud Mary, exactly.
Which I've heard was bad.
That that can be. I saw that trailer and I was like, oh, this is like trying to be like an old school blaxploitation film, and I can understand why as an actor you would want to like try and do that. But
cool concept.
As far as like what audiences want to see now, especially black audiences, who is like your target audience for this film, they don't want to see that shit.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to see that stuff like that anymore. They want to see like Taraji P Henson kicking ass with a gun, but not in the blaxploitation like concept.
Yeah.
I should also probably see the movie before I speak on it too much. So grain of salt with that. But
I still want to watch it. Maybe if it's on like if it's not long, if it's like less than 2 hours, I'll watch it.
It's probably not that long. But yeah, no, like Black Panther. I mean, blaxploitation walked so that Black Panther could not just run, but like turbo speed boost into hyperspace. Like just like go fucking crazy. That's why Black Panther is so important to black people. Because like you think about blaxploitation. When I think about blaxploitation films, to be honest, I think about settling in a way.
Right.
Because yes, black people won at the end of the day. They were heroes.
Right. They were still like, here's your own genre.
We still had to sacrifice, like to the male gaze. We had to give men something to ogle at.
Come a long way.
We were still like assassins and like, I don't know, like pushing people out of windows and shit like that. There wasn't a whole lot of variety.
They're like, at the end of the day, like Shaft killed people.
Yeah.
Which was like not something that any sane person would think a good person would be capable of.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of variety when it comes to blaxploitation films, but characters in Black Panther were 3D, they were complicated, they were fully fleshed out, fully realized. I could see them as people being that I could interact with in real life. Like, you know what I mean?
They weren't these fully developed three-dimensional characters.
They weren't these otherworldly beings. They were human, and that in and of itself is huge. I forget what we were talking about before I went off about blaxploitation and Black Panther. But
we were talking about
Detroit films, seeing black people in films and having a hard time dealing with suffering.
We got to this point naturally, and I don't think I wanted to bring up anything else. Well, the thing is, I do want to say, like, kind of like a positive note, like, well, I do think that there is still a ton of work to be done, and that we're by nowhere near, I think, what anyone would call the ideal reality that we live in. But I do think it's worth saying that we have made tons and tons of progress in making film more diverse, like it's like things have gotten better. Things still aren't great.
Nope.
But it'd be ignorant to say that things have not gotten better.
Of course.
One of the main characters in Star Wars is a black guy. Like 30 years ago? That's not gonna. Do you want to pause for a sec?
Nope. This arm is just fully off. We have 4 more minutes left. Okay. Let's just go.
Sam is.
Let's just go.
It looks like you're snake wrangling that microphone.
Is the readout still? Yeah, I'm still being read on the audio file. So let's just.
That's all that matters.
Yep. Let's just power through this.
Thanks for chilling with us for our 2020 first episode of the year.
Yeah.
If you listened to last week's podcast, and I hope you did, you'll know that big changes are coming in January of 2020. So keep posted for that. We'll be back again next week, Tuesday at 3 p.m. We still have a YouTube channel. Please go subscribe to it. We do lots of gaming stuff. Watch
and more of this. If you like listening to us, then like by all means check out YouTube, because it's basically just like a podcast with video games.
More or less, yeah. So go give it a watch. Yeah. A lot of those series are going to be continuing with the new format we spoke about.
Yep.
But really get caught up on them.
Yeah.
It might be worth it.
Yep.
And just like that, folks, we'll see you next time.
Yeah. Oh wait. Quick lessons for like going into 2020.
Oh shit, that's right. This thing we do at the end of every podcast. Lesson number 1 is to follow your New Year's resolution, but don't beat yourself up about it.
Yeah, a New Year's resolution is kind of a suggestion. They should be called New Year's suggestions, not resolutions.
Because resolution, you think like, I'm
you resolve to do it. You're like, I'm going to do this.
Fucking do it.
And that's all well and good if you benefit from that kind of goal setting. If you are that kind of person, then like rock on, dude. Like you start working out on January 1st and you work out until December 31st of 2020 by all means. But if you're not that kind of person, then just like keep it broad. You know, just like, my New Year's resolution is to like be more assertive.
And mine is to be a better artist. Right. So
whatever that means, however that goes, just let it guide you.
I'm very much of like and lesson number 2 is this. If you're planning big time resolutions, big changes in your life, here's how I suggest you do it. You do large tent poles, and then in between those large tent poles, you have smaller tent poles.
Yeah.
Until eventually, when you're at the final small tent pole, before your large tent pole, you'll have had the foundation to reach your major goal.
Yeah.
That makes sense when I say that?
Building blocks.
Yeah.
Building
blocks.
That's
not the rambling of a madman?
Yeah.
Okay. That would be my second lesson for the day. For the day.
Yeah.
And our third lesson is to...
enjoy the things that you enjoy. Read opinions so that you don't, exist in a vacuum. But at the end of the day, enjoy like the thing you like.
Yeah.
It's fine. You're fine.
Like the thing
Everything's
you like,
fine.
And like you.
You can like Avengers. You can like Star Wars. You can like video games. You can like Call of Duty. It's all good. It's all fine. You're fine.
Yeah.
Don't worry about
Everything's fine.
Just enjoy it.
And we'll see you guys next week.
Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
What the fuck is going on?
Looks like he kind of slipped off on you.